Hello, welcome to Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. And I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association, who's most interested in what's happening with our money and also in our government. Well, we're exciting. We have excellent guests that come to our show, and this show is no exception. We have Ken Perkins, who's a kind of a taxpayer advocate. He's also suing the county government in Tuolumne over sunshine. So this is going to be an excellent show. Ken Perkins, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's get a little background on what is EDC, what's this economic development thing all about?
Yes, so the Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority was created 8 years ago by the County of Tuolumne. And to create an authority like this, the Board of Supervisors had to basically vote on it, create it, and 2 board members from Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors are on the Board of Directors. Also, it includes 2 members of the City of Sonora because they're involved in the economic development. And there's a couple of citizens that are involved. And so the purpose of the Economic Development Authority is to attract new businesses into Tuolumne County and also to try to retain businesses who might think that maybe that's not a great place to do business, but we want you to stay here and to pay more taxes because Tuolumne County has, over the years, have been struggling in terms of taxes and paying for the things that they want to fund. So that's basically a summation of it.
I understand that the federal government's involved with this. They provide funding for public works projects and other things that the local Economic Development Board selects. Is that correct?
Yes. So there are different relationships between the federal government and local economic development departments. Essentially, what the federal government tries to do is they have a goal, right? Whether it's new businesses or new construction, and they tell the economic development boards, if you can develop some goals and objectives, we will fund you in federal money. So every economic development authority is their goal is to try to figure out how we can get more of that money flowing into our community.
Now, when this money comes in from the federal government, are there requirements or strings attached to it? Do you need to do certain things that if you got the money from the local taxpayers, you wouldn't have to do?
Well, I think the goals of the federal government is you have to convince us what you believe will create economic growth. And so you submit these 5-year strategic plans. And the federal government will look at that and say, we think that is relevant to what you need for a particular, like for Tuolumne County or Calaveras. And if the federal government goes, we think that that's a good plan, we will bring money into it. But if not, if they don't think that you are really doing the things the federal government thinks that needs to be done, they may not fund it.
I see. So so it's kind of like a mixed blessing. We get free money, but we lose local control.
We can lose local control if the locals lose control.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to what I've been doing over the last couple of years and looking at our individual economic development authority is to ask the question, are you doing what we need versus what the government thinks that we need?
Right.
And that's where I keep asking the questions. Show me what you're going to do and how you're going to accomplish it. And this is where I think I've had a sort of a struggle back and forth with the local goals. versus the federal government versus what we really need locally.
From my understand, you really think accountability is very important. It's very important to know exactly what the money is being spent for.
I agree. I think it's all about accountability.
Okay.
So you make promises. You tell the local community this is what we're trying to achieve, and then tell us how you did it, and tell us what the outcome has been. And this has been my challenge for the last couple of years. Promises, not kept. But the money comes in, but they're not showing the community where the money is being spent and whether there's an outcome. This has been the whole thrust of my criticism and ultimately my lawsuit against Tuolumne County.
In Calaveras County, we also have an economic development coordinator, but we know very little. Most of the public knows very little about what the programs are and and what's happening. And even if we have a problem with sunshine or not, we don't know yet. But I got this feeling after this show, we're probably going to find out.
I think you will.
Now, what are some of the goals that our local or the Tuolumne County EDC is looking toward? I mean, why are they? What are they about?
Okay, so here's a good example. So Tuolumne County has stated in their own documentation
Right.
that they've brought in over $300 million worth of projects.
Right.
And they've also stated that they brought in 2,088 jobs. That'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, for a community that the State Department of Labor has shown that our statistics actually have been going in the opposite direction for 5 years. So they're telling the community all of these things are happening, but the statistics are not saying it, and also they will not release the documents that basically have substantiate any of those improvements. And you mentioned in Calaveras County, they just hired an economic development director.
Yes.
It's just a couple months ago.
Yes.
And I had an interesting conversation just 30 minutes ago. When I was coming here, I took the wrong turn and I went down on Main Street and I actually stopped off in a couple of businesses. And I asked them, what do you think that would bring businesses and economic success into the community? And it wasn't really encouraging. They think that it's just a part of the economics of the. There's just not much going on here, and to bring in new businesses, there's just. How do I say that? There's just not the. Like, for instance, they're saying all of our young kids coming out of high school are going to the cities.
Yeah, they are.
And a lot of people are moving to our counties are retired.
Right.
And they have money. And they're developing
Golf courses.
and very nice homes. And our kids today are saying, well, there's nothing there for me. So our kids are going to the cities, and we are flat in terms of economic development. The challenges for our economic development authorities is to figure out, if that's the reality, how do we solve this problem?
Right.
All I hear is we created for instance, in Tuolumne County yesterday in the Union Democrat, we have a dairy cream. So a couple of jobs, right? A couple of managers, but minimum wage. Those are not the kind of economic or the type of jobs we need to come into this community to increase the revenue and to fix the problems we need to fix. I don't think the economic development authorities are addressing that.
I see. One of the things that, Well, I guess the most important thing in your agenda is transparency. You just want to have facts about what's going on. Is that correct?
I do. So let me give you an example. So I mentioned that the Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority said we created 2,000 jobs. That's great. Show us how you did that. Give us the documents. How did you reach out to the various organizations and the businesses? How did you entice them to come in? The problem is, in this particular case, the Tuolumne County General Counsel looked at the law and says, we're not going to tell you. We're going to put an umbrella over everything that economic development does as a secret, a trade secret. And my lawsuit is basically saying, no, California law says you have to be open and transparent so we can understand what our policymakers are doing.
Tax money.
Tax money, yes, and where is that tax money going, and what is the effect of that tax money? They're saying we're not going to tell you. Well, that means the taxpayer doesn't know it. The council members of the city of Sonora can't do it. They can't get that information. I can't believe that a government, a local government, would actually say, we're not going to give you the information about what we're claiming is a benefit to the taxpayers. We'll see on October 12th when this lawsuit goes to court.
Now, I understand that the reason that they want to have secrecy is because if the economic development director is negotiating with companies, that company doesn't want its plans known to other companies. So while the negotiating process is underway, there would be need for confidentiality. Does that make sense?
Well, under the law, as I understand it, and I have an attorney from Los Angeles who his specialty is these sort of lawsuits. Governments can do two things. They can carve out the negotiations for new businesses,
right,
and then they can tell us the new businesses that have already been created. That's fine with us. So redact or carve out what you're negotiating, but give us what you've already accomplished.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so...
But they don't, but they haven't, it makes sense, but that's not their position.
You know, it's kind of curious. When a new business comes into the county, they quite often get a business license.
Sure.
Which is a public document.
That's right.
It's not secret.
It's not secret.
Okay.
And they've opened their doors and people are coming in and buying coffee or they're buying
whatever.
Whatever. That's not secret.
Okay, so what if someone who has the time and money would go to the county and look at the last 100 business licenses and contact each of those businesses and ask them how they found out about our county?
It's a great point.
Now, that would work in Calaveras County as well as Tuolumne County.
Every county in the state.
Yeah. Now, if they all came back and said that Economic Development Company brought me here, well,
goodness.
Then the argument's over.
That's right. A lot of times when businesses create, they go to the real estate agent,
right,
they go to the bank, they go to their tax accountant, and they figure all these things out to create a business. And maybe, just maybe, they had lunch with an economic development director, and then that director goes, "Oh, I'll take that credit for that." Yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah,
it's not transparent, and it's deceptive.
All right. So, on the positive side, if you win your lawsuit, then the county may have to disclose information on previous work that they did,
Correct,
but not on ongoing negotiations.
That's correct.
That kind of makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would be totally okay with that.
Yeah.
And my attorney be totally okay with that. But wouldn't it be embarrassing if we had all these businesses that have already been created and there was no negotiations going on in the last 5 years? That would be a little bit of embarrassing, and we want to know that,
right?
Because I think the public should know that.
Yeah, and it could be embarrassing to our local elected representatives who are almost swearing that these wonderful things are happening, and but they're not allowed to know either.
Well, the two board members for the Board of Supervisors who are appointed to the Economic Development Board of Directors,
right,
they know it. And we've sued both the CEO of the EDA board, and we've also sued the organization. So they both have to answer to our lawsuit. What did you know, and when did you know it, and give us the information.
Does the board of the meetings, I understand, of the EDA are public, anybody can attend?
Yes.
Now, it would seem like if negotiations on bringing a business here are confidential, they can't be disclosed to that board.
Boy, that's a legal. I don't think I could answer that. That's a legal question. Whether it's confidentiality.
It's a public meeting.
It's a public meeting. What they may do is if I came to the board and said, I want to know whether Amazon was going to move 20,000 employees to Tuolumne County, right? And I want to know. They could possibly go to what they say it's a secret, lawyers only. They could basically say we won't talk about it, but everyone in America would go, yeah. If Amazon was coming here, we want to know about it, and then every board member would go, oh yeah, look at us.
Right.
But they could maybe technically go, we don't want to talk about it.
Okay, so this lawsuit of yours could bring about some really significant change, not just for Tuolumne County, but for the state of California. And then maybe, since this is a template in every state created by the federal government, they could change that template as far as sunshine goes to every state.
I love your question. Why? I love it.
Isn't that true?
Yes, because what I understand, the laws regarding confidentiality with economic development, it's vague. Lawyers sort of debate back and forth. I'm hoping that we'll clarify this. Yeah. This may be a test case to show what do you have to tell us, and when you have to tell us, and would that be great to have clarity over transparency?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, a win-win.
That's what our Taxpayer Association is all about.
Oh, my God, I'd love to be a part of that.
Including Taxpayer Alert.
I would love to be a part of that.
Remember now, you heard this first here.
Yes. And I'm willing, if I lose this lawsuit, I have to fund this lawsuit. This is very expensive for me. But I'm willing to go there so that we can have this outcome. And if we lose, we'll go someplace else. I'm willing to fund it. We need to know what transparency looks like to taxpayers.
What sort of costs, legal costs, is involved with this?
Well, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
It's let's just say
a range.
$200 to $400 an hour.
For how many hours?
For me, well, we're ongoing, and this could go big time, or it could be the county comes back and goes, we don't want to pay for this lawsuit. We'll settle it, but it could be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
Oh man, that's awesome.
But I'm willing to do it.
Wow. They're going to have to make a statue of you or something.
No statues. No,
On a white horse.
I don't want that. I really don't. I want.
I'm only kidding.
No, I know you are. I want clarity of what our government is promising us and deliver what they promise. That's all I want. And I think. You got a couple seconds left. Someone.
We have 10 minutes.
Okay. So I was at Lowe's today. I was buying some material. I was doing some work around my house, and a contractor and a former county a county politician came up to me and shook my hand and says, "Ken, I know you're doing this by yourself, because this is the kind of things that no one's going to back you because they don't want to, they don't want their name out there. But they said, there's so many people behind you. Keep going. We support you." I just felt so, I always felt I was on my own. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing, but I have so many people saying, "Ken, keep going." And that really gives me encouragement that we're going to win this.
There used to be a taxpayer association in Tuolumne County. I was a director on that, and I learned about taxpayers associations.
Okay.
So when I moved to Calaveras County, I took that knowledge with me, and then I took a course with the Chamber of Commerce on learning skills and organization.
Sure.
And that's how the Calaveras County Taxpayers Association got started.
Oh,
now,
right on.
Right now, you don't have a taxpayer association in Tuolumne County.
Okay.
But I think with your efforts,
maybe, okay,
that might come about.
All right.
And if there was one there, I think they'd be supporting you in what you're doing, and you wouldn't have to be all alone.
Right. You have to have a voice.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid to have a voice because they're either doing business with the county, or they're raising their families, or there's just so many reasons people are intimidated to come out and fight for something they believe in.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, we could get a few more people to do something like you just suggested.
Well, if you did start a taxpayer association in Tuolumne County, you could use our documents so you don't have to start from scratch.
Right. You've already gone through the learning curve.
Yeah.
Right. There's an old saying that
you can copy our corporate documents.
Sure. There's an old saying that knowledge doesn't come in one downpour; it comes in drizzles.
Yeah.
And you've been through all of that, and so you would have a template to be able to sort of execute very quickly, rather than have someone struggle in the things that you've already gone through.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming.
It is overwhelming because people they're so intimidated by government and taxes and laws, and government really has the resources that we don't have. And so it is an uphill battle, but we've won a few. Right?
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about your background. You've been involved with a number of things. You were environmental director?
Yes, I have 2 master's degrees. And when I came out of college, I was hired as an environmental health director for Tuolumne County. 6 years. Was done with working for government. It took an act of Congress to get rid of somebody that wasn't very effective. So I spent the next 25 years in private sector, and I worked for very large, successful companies, who I could contribute to them being successful. So I spent 25 years, and I just retired 5 years ago from the private sector, and I've been my wife and I have been doing. We have a charity fund. We just actually gave $25,000 to the charity fund, and I have called the AP fund. I've given money to various environmental groups. And
what's the AP mean?
The AP means Alexander Perkins. It's sort of my legacy of my father and my grandfather. Okay. And so what my wife and I are trying to do, our goal is we've been very successful, and we want to give all of it away before we die. And as a matter of fact, we've given almost over $1 million in a will to a local agency. We're not going to name that agency, but we're giving all of our assets to local charities.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, I understand your wife is Bev Shane. I happen to know her.
I know you do, right?
Yeah, she's a wonderful...
36 years county government.
Yeah, she's a wonderful administrator. And so Bev's now, she's also retired.
A year ago.
And she used to be the Tuolumne County...
Community Development Director.
Community Development Director,
right.
Which is a promotion from being the Planning Director.
Right, so she had Public Works and Environmental Health and Building and Planning. She had 16 agencies under her control.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was really amazing. And she's also a California certified lawyer in California.
Wow. One of the things our Taxpayer Association is trying to do is to try to encourage a freedom-friendly general plan that actually respects property rights.
That's right.
And maybe you and your wife might be contacts to help with that.
Let's keep talking, all right? Let's keep talking.
Yeah, that would be...
She's a very bright girl, and she knows all the ins and outs, and okay, maybe,
and also
maybe
she cares, too. She cares about people.
She does, right.
So, looking ahead, if the lawsuit is successful...
October 12th.
It's October 12th.
It's already assigned to a judge.
All right. And then after that date, we'll know. And then maybe we can have you on again and see what the next stage is.
I love it. Yeah, little balloons and little graffiti. Woo woo! We won.
Yeah, but no statue or a white horse.
No, my God, yeah. No, I would. No, this is about the citizens of the community. It's not about one individual.
Right.
It really is. I believe that from my heart. It's about the citizens.
Well, we apparently have one individual with a little bit of backing and a little bit of success that allows this to happen. If you hadn't done all the work you've done in your career, you wouldn't have the money to do this.
That's right. And it's been a transparent and a free democracy. And I always think that we live in a democracy and we are the guardians.
Yeah, it's true. I call it a constitutional republic.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert.